Today is July 7th, 2022. I'm in my mom's kitchen. Don't mind if it's a little messy. I was the one that made the mess and I have to go clean it up. I did it yesterday. I'm starving this morning, but since I don't have anything to smoke, I refuse to eat now. A couple of the days that I had eaten a lot. I'd gotten up to 180 pounds. And now I'm dropping down to 176 this morning. So I refuse to eat. I don't see the problem in that. I'm not going to do this without smoking medicinal marijuana. I'm not going to be forced into having a child without having my proper medication. And since I can't finance that because the federal government deems it as a narcotic still, which is insane because you have opioids on there and people on opioid addictions that cause more problems like Xanax and hydrocodone and, even alcoholism. Those cause more damage, and cigarette smoking causes more damage than medicinal marijuana. I shouldn't have to be reprimanded for all these things. I shouldn't have to be reprimanded for trying to survive. And just realized now, too, that, they threw the book at me years ago when I had gone to jail, when I was incarcerated for having reached out to my ex-husband to want to see my child and explain to him that his actions were demonic and the letters that they have, everything's on file. And if you go back and you look at it clearly through a psychological perspective, you understand that it's a woman pleading for her offspring, the offspring that she birthed, the offspring that she breastfed, the offspring that, she coddled and took care of and doted on for 3.5 years. I'm clearly not in the wrong. I may have said some things, but never have I actually threatened anyone physically. Never. It's about the actions in conjunction with the words. And the fact that my ex-husband did all of these nefarious things, he shouldn't have custody of my child. He shouldn't have custody of her at all. Let's be completely honest with one another. What he had done was not protecting her. What he had done was placed her in even more danger. Because the more and more I end up snapping, the more and more I'm going to send people your way so that they can do the devil's work. So I don't have to get my hands dirty. Because they understand these demons on earth, the ones that walk around, they need something to look up to. They need something to do in order to compensate for what they've done in the past. And like I've clearly demanded, he should be dead, my ex-husband, for leaving me with 2 loaded guns and leaving everyone to believe that I was the one that was the issue, when in actuality I was suffering through plenty of marital abuse and neglect. And when he was off gallivanting going to concerts, I was stuck at home breastfeeding our child. So you're not going to tell me that he deserved custody and that I deserved to not see her for the last 6 years when she'll be 10 years old this year. And then you forced another child upon me without a father. And you wanted to see how my reaction would be, right? It's rejection, because you rejected me. As a human being, I've been rejected. I've been ostracized and persecuted for the wrong reasons, for vocalizing my opinions. Not that I actually acted out on these things, not that I actually fulfilled those demonic, curses that I placed upon other people. No, it's going to come back tenfold on them. That's how it works. And the funny thing is people thought, she can't believe in all these different aspects. If she believes in witchcraft, then she's part of the devil's cult. No, that's not true. Not at all. Divination is a part of Christianity. And there are plenty of things that people understand. Me making contact with animals, that's not demonic. Not at all. I literally save things from dying. I have saved things from dying. And you're going to tell me that I'm clearly the one that's deranged? That I'm clearly the one that's in the wrong? Not anymore. I'm over it. I'm completely over it. I had a discussion with my mother this morning where she said, I went to every court proceeding for you when you were incarcerated for 2 months, and you went to a psychiatric hospital for a month in between, and they kept promising you a home. They kept promising you a bed here and there. And she said, I kept going to these proceedings. You've driven my mother crazy. You've driven my mother crazy in the sense of like she really thought that it was all me. She really thought because of the criminal record that I was compiling due to your misguided efforts, your misinformed data, that you've driven her mad. You've driven her to the point where she doesn't even get out of her pajamas most days because she doesn't know how to deal with the world because her children are constantly being harassed by the authorities. And she doesn't understand why either, because majority of the time I was always very law-abiding. I made sure to, keep things on the up and up in that way to make sure that I didn't have anything trailing behind me that I might need to seek repentance for, seek some type of forgiveness for, because my Catholicism had me to the point of not necessarily fear from God, but love in that way, understanding what true love is, and that is repentance. That is people that make amends with what they've done wrong and stop living in denial. So even like through psychology, I understood this, in science, and some people were saying, oh, that's the devil. It is not the devil to understand yourself. It's not the devil to understand others. It's not the devil to read minds in that way. Because throughout my life, I kept everything to myself. Throughout my life, even when I would discuss things when I first went to therapy, I couldn't discuss what was truly going on at home because I was being told by my parents, if you speak up about these things, we will kill you. My mother came into the room. She said, I should have killed you when I had the opportunity. Yeah. Can she get in trouble for these things? No. There's nothing. And even, my psychologist, and now, he even mentioned about, well, can't you put your father away? Well, I tried when I was 18, and they refused to do any of the processing, so apparently he's just all out and about, free to survive, and that's actually finally okay with me, to the sense where when I needed assistance, he actually reached out, and he was able to offer the financial backing like he's done with my other siblings. He's never afforded for me since I was raised. Since I was kicked out of the home at 17 years old, I've not asked my father for much of anything. And he knows that, and he understands that, because I didn't want to take his dirty, filthy money. I didn't want to take, any pedophilic money in that way of like, okay, yeah, you fondled me as a child. I don't deserve money. I deserve respect. That's exactly what it is. And instead of people realizing where I'm coming from, realizing that I'm actually very, down to earth. I haven't been seeking any gains from any of this, no financial gains. I haven't sought anything. Because if I did, I would have actually proceeded in finding a way to fuck every one of you. So, and they understand that. It was Judge Ohms that was my judge for that time, so he was misinformed and misguided. He didn't know who he was dealing with, and he didn't know, that the Lord watches everything. The Lord sees all. In the way that you've mistreated me, and the way that you've mistreated a female, a mother, that was just trying to get back to her child in any way she could because she didn't have the financial means to fight in court. So what did I do? I took voluntary parenting classes. I took voluntary anger management classes. It's all on record. Everything's on file. Yet I haven't been offered back the things that I deserve and belong to me, like my pets, like a home, like a nice new vehicle that's already paid for, like all these things. It would be nice to have everything that I ever wanted. And I went and I removed every single thing from the registry because I knew that these people were just manipulating me in some way, some facet. I went through one by one and removed, the purchase mark because I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea. Even the judge, I placed all of my faith in you, Judge Ohms. I placed all of my fucking faith. And what did you do? You decided that the man deserved more than the woman. You decided that because I was unstable due to the fact that you shot me up, your authorities under you shot me up with so many psychiatric medications, and that's what you had on film, was a woman freaking out because you weren't listening to her. So who's truly harassing whose communication at this point? Tell me, who's truly harassing whom? Because all I see is that I've been trying all these years, and even my mother said, I've noticed that you have been trying, when these certain occurrences happened, you went off and you tried to better yourself. And I told her, I said, I know. That's why I know when they went into my home and they saw the copious amounts of religious memorabilia, the rosaries, the candles, and everything, that I was trying to protect myself from the authorities, from their demonic forces, because I realized I couldn't trust anybody. I placed my faith in the judicial system here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I was not granted any leniency whatsoever. They said, oh, we could keep her in there for a year. Do you realize the repercussions of abusing an innocent person, an innocent disabled individual, mind you, that doesn't necessarily even know what the hell is up and down at the certain instances of time because of the trauma that I've sustained throughout all these years, and dealing with the authorities as well. I never thought that I would have to have that fear. I always just offered them the benefit of the doubt in that way, to go along with them. Whatever you say is okay. When that fellatio happened, I started losing hope and faith in humanity, because you don't go to a woman's house and persuade her into presuming that you are single, presuming that, you're going to be there to protect her, and you are going to be there to encourage her and love her in that way. And instead, it ended up being that you took advantage of her. And then what? Did that help satisfy you for the moment? It did. But in the long run, you're going to be fucked. That's why a lot of these men try to cover up what they've been doing, these malicious things that they've done to women, and they want to still have their position. That's why when I started noticing the differences in officers as well at the Garland County Jail, I was very pleased, extremely pleased. Like, just the way that Crouch approached me at this time as opposed to how he did 2 years ago. He understood that mental health is extremely important when it comes to being part of the criminal, judicial systems in that way. If you've been doing things that are shady or backhanded, a lot of these individuals don't realize that it is mental health issues, that they're needing therapy more than not, as opposed to these drugs, as opposed to these substances. And even though I haven't smoked in a couple of days, I had very little, and I was literally smoking ashes just now because I was trying to keep myself in my state of sober, in my state of being connected with this world. Because when I detach and I don't smoke medicinal marijuana, I will lay there for days. I won't brush my teeth. I won't be active with the world around me. I won't leave my home. They knew. I was so agoraphobic that I didn't leave my home, and I lived there for 10 years because of all the trauma, because they didn't see it from my perspective, because nobody fought for me. Because when that divorce hearing happened and I didn't show up, that was a clear red flag that I was not being told the proper, how to fight. I was not being informed by the judicials, by, anybody, any of these, attorneys. There was nobody sent to me as a disabled citizen to understand, why is this divorce happening? I don't get it. I didn't understand it. What do you mean? And then I didn't know she was taken from me. I had no idea that I was signing over my rights. And then all of a sudden they had a signature on that divorce decree, which, do you understand, is illegal because you used falsified documents. You used a document that was not notarized. You don't know if I signed that or not. You have hearsay because you heard from so-and-so. You said, okay, we don't want to get anybody else in trouble for forgery, So we're just going to go ahead and say that she signed this and she's clearly okay with divorcing and clearly okay. No, we didn't have counseling. You looked at him like he was the victim. He left me with 2 loaded guns, knowing that I had had prior suicide attempts. Who's the dangerous one truly? Who's the one that is the psychopath? Who's the one in this situation that truly wanted harm to come to the other person? Because I hit him in the head with a goddamn saucepan. Yeah, he deserved it. He shouldn't have been fucking me in my sleep. That's marital abuse. That's marital rape. So when I tried to speak up about this stuff, nobody heard me. Nobody listened to me. Nobody believed me. Yet it's something that goes on in my brain. It just revolves because nothing has been solved. Do you understand? I can't complete my puzzle without all the pieces. So I'm going insane. I'm going crazy. It's like being trapped in a psych ward out in this real world, and everybody is stealing pieces and eating them or shitting on them or fornicating with them. I don't need my pieces randomly dispersed for everyone to fucking manipulate. All right? So when I started gathering my pieces again, and I started collecting myself and gathering my few belongings that I had, I still kept getting stolen from. And I thought, God, why are you doing this to me? Why? Why is this happening? Why in God's name is everyone that is demonic still able to hurt me and harm me? And I realized it was just on me. It was my own psychosis in that way to believe that these people mattered, to believe that these material belongings mattered, to believe that the finances mattered. So for a couple of years, I lived out of my vehicle. Nearly 2 years, I lived out of my vehicle. And what did I do? I didn't get in trouble. I went off to restaurants. I went to do things that I wanted to do to make myself happy for once, because I've not ever gotten that privilege in my entire life. I've never been that privileged. I've never been that prissy and posh, and I wanted to go off and do these things. I wanted to dress nicely. I wanted to be taken to dinners. I wanted to be, spoiled in that way. And I finally had a little bit of that. And then I got pregnant. And I was forced to just stop. I couldn't afford for myself. I couldn't offer my services as a companion, like a cuddler, because if it's completely platonic, I don't see the issue with it. If somebody's looking for physical contact and I have what they want, which is my body in that way, selling my body. And people don't even realize I didn't fornicate with any of these men. Like, people start making stories up and they start, swaying others to believe perceptions of me that aren't correct. I'm not that devious person or deceptive person, that everybody's trying to convey me as. I'm not. I'm actually a very sweet, kind-hearted person, and when I'm met individually, I try to see somebody as an individual as opposed to what they truly are, manipulative liars. So, I know I've met some very important people throughout my life, and they can vouch for my character. There are plenty of people that I've met throughout my travels that could vouch for my true demeanor and my character, and how poised I am at times of stress, and how articulate I've become due to the fact that I'm no longer on any psychiatric medications, due to the fact that I'm not on any pharmaceuticals aside from medicinal marijuana. So, my story is actually a positive one in that way, where I've gathered and I've collected myself, and a lot of the things that I say are out of aggravation, because these are true thoughts that go on in other people's heads that I relay. These are true thoughts that go on in my head due to the fact that other people believe these sick, distorted, perceptions. And I just try to relay my life as best I can so people can understand that the judicials did not take proper steps into taking care of me. Instead, they threw me to the wolves by knowing that I had no home, knowing that I was a single woman, and I had warned everyone. I said, well, if I can't get housing, if you're going to give me an allotment of $475, and there are no places around here for that amount, they're all $550 or more. They told me they couldn't help me. I freaked out. I couldn't do it. By the time I ended up out of the hospital, it was a few days after it had expired, the voucher for a housing, for the anywhere here in Hot Springs. And I asked them for an extension. They refused. They said that I had to be on the waiting list for another year. So I decided I wouldn't place efforts into their trash, lowly systems. I wouldn't wait for that. I demand more. I demand compensation for all the trauma and the pain and the suffering and the distorted criminal record that you have placed upon me, because that's what God says. God says to speak up. God says to protect myself. And the funny thing is that's why I've been able to expose my story in such a way, in such an extravagant way as well, to be able to go to different locations, not be harassed. I've not done anything to any of those communities whatsoever, aside from offering back to them, offering back to their low lifes, the scumbags that live off the street, because that's all they treat them as, instead of recognizing that they had hardships that were so immense in their life that they couldn't gather their puzzle pieces anymore. So they had to start stealing or taking from others because they didn't have that luxury of having a home. They didn't have that luxury of having family, and they pushed all their family away because they were going through mental illness. It's all based upon that. It's not about being a criminal or doing things that are, fucked up and evil. It's about you not realizing that you need help. It's about them not realizing that you need that mental help. And I sought it. I've been seeking it since I was a child to understand the world around me, and that's why I'm overly educated. That's why I know too much. That's why I didn't finish my education, because I realized financially I couldn't sustain it. So I had to back down. I had to lower my standards, which was sad for me because I wanted to go to university. I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of that upper crust that was knowledgeable and had all of these ties into the different communities. I wanted to be just like the judges. I wanted to be just like everyone else in that way. The people that were higher up, that knew not to demand too much of others. But some of these people in those higher positions take advantage of people like me, physically, sexually, psychologically, emotionally, gaslighting people like me. Yeah, you can have a home if you go seek it. It's out there. I've looked for the resources. They're not out there. Not for anyone right now, especially during, COVID at this time. I knew it was coming. That's why I had prepared. That's why I even had so much stockpiled food in my home. That's why, even with my dogs and everything, I knew that I would have been able to maintain, because a companion animal, that is a luxury that some people can afford because they understand that that companion animal is going to be with them day and night, and it's going to offer them the love that they were not allotted in life. So that's what I was doing, offering love and compassion to this local community. And what did they do? They ripped those dogs away from me. And I wasn't hurting them. They all had their shots. Even with the time where I'd gotten in trouble for the rabies, my dogs didn't leave the home aside from being with me, and I made sure that they were always sustained and taken care of. I lived in the county. It wasn't a restriction to own dogs without it. So the fact that it went to court and they charged me with not having rabies, and I immediately went out and got them all their shots. So they understand I am a proper citizen in that way, that I listen, I comply to a certain extent until I realize how irrational they're being and how much they're just pinpointing and targeting me for no reason. So I realized that. I hid for as long as I could to gather my strength. I gained all that weight. I was encompassed in this cocoon of fat because I didn't want anyone to look at me or stare at me or recognize me. And then after a while, I decided, well, that's not me. That's not something I need anymore. I don't need those comforts weighing me down. So when everything was ripped away from me, the poodles, my home, my life, the life was uprooted, and I realized I had to start a new one. There was no daughter anymore. There was no Tara Linnell Collins at 106 Douglas Drive, Hot Springs, Arkansas. There was no her. There was no one. So, and there was no Brandon Kelly Collins either. They didn't exist to me anymore. I had to realize these people didn't want me in their lives. These people don't need me in their lives. And that's fine. I don't mind that. But that doesn't mean that you didn't wrong me. That doesn't mean that you didn't steal from me in my reality. The fact that I've become a mother, I was forced to breastfeed in that way. Forced. I offered it freely because I loved her. I loved her more than life itself. That's why I went on this rampage of setting up videos and trying to seek her out, because that was the only thing on my mind, the only thing in my heart, because I'd already lost all my poodles. I wanted to expose what I truly am, who I truly am. A loving person that has been defiled, that has been, forced into having defamation of character due to these people that were actually the abusers, the people that were actually the violators, the ones that perpetrated assaults against me, physical assaults, sexual assaults, and yet you're listening to them. I was under the guise that inevitably you would fix these things. I was under the illusion that you were going to appropriate this situation and that I wouldn't have to speak out like this anymore, and I wouldn't have to preach to you, knowing that you are an authority figure and knowing that I'm a lowly working class citizen, disabled, mind you. So I didn't expect this. I didn't presume that I had to fight for other people's rights as well. And the fact that you, in the, Supreme Court's ruled that abortion is not a viable option anymore. That's profoundly disgusting. Profoundly disgusting that you would remove the opportunity for a woman's expansion. Because if she ends up becoming a mother and she's not prepared for it, if she's too young, if it's been forced upon her, like myself, this is also chronicled so people understand, hey, guess what? Since you're going to end up going crazy, you won't have the opportunity to abort your child. You will go crazy. You will try to harm yourself. You will try to harm this offspring. You will try to take things that aren't good for you. You will try to kill it. And that's normal. That's a normal feeling if you're raped, that you don't want this thing growing inside of you because you know damn well that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Having a child and raising it on your own is not a light at the end of the tunnel for me. That was never in the fucking cards. So the fact that this child has to be given up, that's very nice actually, because I don't care. Just like I said about the registry, I had removed all of those purchases because it said that they were purchased elsewhere. And I don't believe you. I don't believe that those things were purchased. I don't believe that I'll have every single thing that I need to survive for the rest of this existence. I don't trust you people anymore. I don't trust that you understand that this is $1 billion lawsuit. And then some, because of the fact that I was violated in your medical systems. I was violated in the psychiatric hospitals, so that's all part of the medical. I was violated when you disregarded my actual medication, which was medicinal marijuana, knowing that that's all I truly suffer from is PTSD of the complex kind. Knowing that these things are rightfully beneficial for me, like the psilocybin, so from mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. So you were looking at me as though I was a criminal, when in actuality I'm a holistic healer in that way, and I healed myself, lost 150 pounds, 155 pounds approximately, and I'd gotten down to 155 pounds, and that's when I wanted to share my story, and guess what happened? A man forced himself upon me when I was sleeping. That's what happened. So when I tried to speak up about it, you didn't want to listen. Instead, you wanted to reprimand me more harshly. Why? So I can get more money out of this in the long run? So that I can prepare for this child, so I can afford for it in every need it fucking has, and also get my daughter back? I pray to God you understand that I need my children. I pray to God you understand that it's not about the fathers. Because they are lowlifes. They're scum. They are worse than the bacteria that festers in cesspools. Do you understand that? That's not drinking water. You need to shove these beings where they belong for a while. Maybe reprimand them. Maybe shove them in a psychiatric hospital. Maybe shove them, in jail for a while so that they can understand from my perspective how much I had to suffer for those many months in fucking jail. For what? Being wrongfully detained? Because I told everyone I didn't do it. I didn't harm anybody. I didn't do anything. What are you doing? Also, too, when I spoke up about this rape, I didn't do anything. I didn't do it. I know how innocent I am. That's why everyone saw me in there and they were like, clearly you don't belong here. Clearly there's something wrong here. And I said, yes, it's the judicials. They keep messing with me. And that's how it goes. The authorities. That's how the feds do it. That's how everyone does it, because they want to make sure that I shut my mouth. They want me to have no self-confidence and no courage to share exactly what has happened through my words, through my perspective, through my being. Yet here I am. I found an outlet. I finally found my form of therapy, which is calling everyone out on their distortions, which I've said, I don't have a doctorate yet, but I clearly am knowledgeable enough to seek it out. I'm clearly knowledgeable enough, if I were to have the time, the efforts, the, financial backing, I would have had these things already. And that's also clearly stated when I had written out these papers for my psychologist, because he wanted to know exactly what I had gone through in my life. So I placed it on here. From my birth, he wanted to know my educational, what from my perspective. I did this, I accomplished this within a 4-day span, but I didn't work on it but 2 days for a few hours. Because this is all me. This is my true story. This is where I have been. This is what I've done. This is my accomplishments in life, which is not much. I know that my psychological well-being has been wavering. My stability has been wavering because nobody fucking wants to see it from my perspective. Nobody wants to see what's truly there, what is clearly there, and the abuse, everything. So that's my life right there. I did that in the span of a few hours total. I would say I didn't spend any more than 6 hours approximately on all of that. He wanted it in that format where he said that he wanted a timeline, but he wanted it horizontally. So I found a template on PowerPoint, and that's how I managed that. Because I'm resourceful, because I find the means to figure things out when I need to, just like my family members. And that's what makes us a little bit different than some people that have been given too much in their life. When you have very little, you learn to become resourceful, just like a lot of these homeless people, just like a lot of the fact that I wanted to be homeless so that I could live that lifestyle, so I could understand how painful it is for them to have to be ostracized and persecuted at every turn. And the authorities made sure to pound that into me, especially when I would seek out their help, and they had that refusal of help because they were told by their superiors that they could not help me in such a way because I had to manage on my own to see how things turned out. Well, I need help here and there. Sometimes I can't do it all on my own. I have to seek the community of others, to seek the, seek the communal resources of others, like my mother. I feel terrible that, I'm even here. I feel terrible that I'm taking from her resources in order to sustain myself and this life growing inside of me. And I'm thinking, why? Why is this happening? And I understood that it was a way of me reconciling with my family. It was a way for me to understand and to share with them what my accomplishments have been, and that I will inevitably share this, and it will get beyond your corruption. I'm done. This is corrupt. This is cruel and unusual punishment to have this go on for 6 years and then some, because I just didn't speak out prior. This is cruel and unusual punishment. This is psychological warfare. That you wanted to break me down. You wanted to inject me with certain things so that when I went to the ER that one time, because my brain was pounding, it felt like it was frying out of my fucking head. I'd love to see some people go through that and see how they maintain afterward, because I have stabilized myself even more than thereafter because of these assaults, because of these, these corrupt proceedings, these cruel and unusual punishments that shouldn't be inflicted upon anybody. You can get your answers through kindness, and I'm living proof of that. You can get your resources through kindness. You can share love with one another, and it goes a lot further. It spreads a lot further than you trying to dredge out some type of punishment. Trying to, persuade everyone to believe that punishment is the right way, when in actuality we've even understood with gentle parenting that being understanding, communicative, and open-minded is the best way. And yet you still don't comprehend that in your supreme positions, in your superior positions, in your judicial courts. You've treated me like trash. You've treated me like I'm a meth addict. And I thought, you know what, I at least have the fortitude to keep from using hard drugs. I had the fortitude and the mental stability in that way to understand that these have repercussions, all of these things, because I'm intelligent in that way. I understood if I go down that path, there's no coming back. That's a very dark, dismal path, and I didn't need that. Not for myself, not for the people attached to me, not for the family that has known me to be that prissy little, chatterbox that goes around defending herself and defending justice and what true justice is and should be, pointing out, you shouldn't do that. Little narc over here, little stool pigeon, you shouldn't do that. I'm going to tell God. I'm going to tell God on you. I'm going to tell them exactly what you've done, the pain and suffering I've endured at your hands, at your power, at your lack of integrity, because a majority of it was them lying to me and telling me it was going to be okay. I remember that officer telling me that my teddy bear and my bunny were waiting for me. They were not. My ex-husband wanted nothing to do with me. He wanted me dead so he could fornicate with someone else, so that he could falsify another marriage like that, so that he could just have another marriage, so that he could have financial backing, because I wasn't offering the financial backing that he deserved and requested in life, because he's a user. Because when he went and started living with me, he had no job. He had no education. He had nothing. He had a suitcase. And I helped him to gather as much as he could and to put him on his feet. And then he turned around and he stabbed me in the back numerous times. His family stabbed me in the back and physically assaulted me, and they were never held, they were never placed in cuffs for it. They got away with murder. They got away with forcing someone to want to commit suicide because of their actions, because of their violence, because of their lies and manipulation. So, unfortunately, this is my story. That's why I share it, because I know there are so many people out there that like a true story, that enjoy hearing about the hardships others endure and how they manage to sustain themselves and to, climb above it, to, it's really difficult for me to want to convey this shit over and over again, because people know who I am. Just do your jobs. Do them correctly. I don't even want to go to court in a couple weeks, because I know that you're going to be frowning upon me for stupid things. Stupid things that you know nothing about. that you're going to claim because of my criminal background, my criminal record, that that's who I am, because of my psychological records as well, because people tampering with my records, because people forcing others to believe that I'm unstable. I'm not that unstable. I suffer from PTSD, and I have panic attacks, and I have detachments at times because of the overwhelming amount of stress I have gone through having to deal with you individuals, you incompetent individuals that don't know how to do your jobs right and don't know how to file paperwork and don't see clearly what is going on in front of you. And yet you're allowed to enforce your will upon others. You're allowed to be forceful and violent with other beings, and you need psychological help. I've explained that to people. There are megalomaniacs in these positions. There are people that take their power to an extreme. They're technically psychopaths. They are. And they actually run the show. And that's what I'm fighting against. And that's why I know that even with the registry, I'm not to expect anything, because that's how it goes with these individuals, these sick human beings that believe that they should have all the resources and they shouldn't be forced to share with someone like me that they've hurt immensely, like the people that they've forced to become homeless. Nobody can climb out of that hole because you make it so. You make it so. Those people, those supreme beings here on earth, the ones that presume that they own everything. That's why I laugh in your faces, because it doesn't matter how much I suffer. I will still smile, and I will still look back at this, and I will still say, you're fucked. You truly are. You are fucked. Each and every one of you. And I'm not just supporting the Christian version of God. I'm supporting every version of God, because God is the Almighty. God is everything. God is the supreme being. We come from God. We stem from God. We have those chemical components, those molecular structures within us that are in creation. And that's why we're able to create as well. That's why I'm creating right now. And you negate a woman's right to choose. You negate a woman's right to be. We are second-class citizens to you, if not third. That's the sick part. You literally have negated my struggles, negated my words, negated my trauma, because you believed I was trying to manipulate something in order to have some type of financial gain. That's not what I'm seeking. Money is the devil, and you understand that because you've had so much of it. You've become corrupt. You've become overwhelmingly spoiled within yourselves and your luxuries. Overwhelmingly, privileged in that way, to where others believe they want to be like you. I thought I wanted to be like you for a long time. I did. But if it comes with being a psychopath, I'd prefer to pass. So if material belongings force someone into becoming corrupt, so that you're greedy, so that you're lustful, so that you're slothful, right? All of the 7 deadly sins. Greedy, lusting, slothful, proud, wrathful, envious, gluttonous. I know I've dealt with my own issues. I know that the novel that I was writing was something that you didn't want out there just yet, because I hadn't fixed my story. I hadn't confronted you face to face to make you realize I'm still here, aren't I? Still breathing the same air. So, and I persist. Not that I want to, but that God wants me to be here. Because if I were to have my choice, if I were to have my, way, I'd be dead right now. I would have died all of those times where I tried to commit suicide, all those times that are recorded, all those times that were not documented, and yet I still am here, preaching to you people, preaching to you preaching for you to understand, This is not okay. The corruption is not okay. And we need to take these people out of their power so that they can understand for just a split second what it's like to be no one and nothing to anybody or anything. And I've gone through that many times. Just had to swallow my pride, swallow my tears. And you guys believe that I'm demonic in that way because I react so violently toward these things verbally. That's all I do. I don't actually react physically. Everyone knows. People will literally cut me. I would get shocked for a moment, and then I just sit there. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Even with my own pets, I would get confused. With my child, with any child, I would be like, why? Why did you do that? Why did you have to act out toward me? Was it your excitement? Was it with your frustration with yourself? It's always upon them. They always have the issue. Yet, no one understands when I had my reactive abuse, when I was reacting to the abuse, they called that the actual abuse. Like it stemmed from nothing. Like I had just pulled it out of nowhere. Pulled it out of my ass. I'm just going to go and hit you. No. It doesn't work like that with Leticia because she's had too many years of therapy. She understands. Keep your hands and feet and dick to myself. You know? I keep my privates to myself majority of the time. I wanted to offer it as a strong, independent woman, to go around and to own my sexuality and to, flaunt it in some ways so that I could get what other ladies got. They were pretty. I wanted to be pretty for a minute. And then I got reprimanded. I got reprimanded so harshly for it, too, by being forced into having a child. By being forced into having just some bastard's child. Just some random dude. And just because he stemmed from the military doesn't make him worthwhile to me. Not at all. If he would have had love and compassion toward me, then he would have been worth something. But since he's just like every one of you, corrupt, demonic, sick, a psychopath, there's nothing I want from him. Absolutely nothing. I don't want his income for this child. I want him behind bars. I want to see him pain and suffer like I've pained and suffered my entire life. I want him to understand what it's like to have everything removed from you and have that, hanging over your head. Hey, you're going to get your resources removed from you. You're going to have everything gone because for me, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything and they still stole from me. I was speaking out the words of God and they thought it was insane. And I thought, no, do you realize I could have killed these people with these loaded guns? I could have killed them. That could have been the devil talking through me. But you know what? I'm not the devil, apparently. I'm something else. I'm something that is a blessing to a lot of individuals because I get to speak what they were never able to speak. I was able to advance the way they could not advance because they were forced into being fearful, forced into compliance, forced into keeping their mouths shut about what has happened between the civilians and those with the keys, those that have the positions that can get away with murder, those that can alter other people's realities so that they look as though they're criminal, so that they can be locked away, so that they can be ostracized and persecuted for the wrong reasons. And I speak these words because I learned them very early on. I mean, these were meant for me, these words, the words that I preach of love and equality and humanity and faith, hope, and love. So, I don't know. I don't know what my being is the purpose for my being is. I just know that I'm here for a reason, and each one of us is here for a particular reason, and that's to alter the course of the future, alter the course of our reality, our dimension. And I know that they're coming out with the answers now that I've already had in my fucking mind for years, and I wasn't able to convey because I didn't have the proper terms for them. Once learning the terms, I could display everything and relay it properly. Yes, this is correct. Yes, this is incorrect. This is not how the world works. This is not how, the fragment or the fragments of life persist, because everything is cyclical. No one understands that. Everything goes in a cycle. So, dependent on the way that you're swinging, how things go about. You understand, everything comes back around. And I try very hard to place a lot of effort into sending positivity out into the universe. Good vibrations, dancing, singing, smiling, because I know that that's truly me. That's truly what my being is meant for. Not all of the stress of daily life and having to survive on a budgeted income like I have been. Yet I still smile through it. I still coupon, I still look for my savings because that's all I can do, because that's all the allotment that I have at this time. At this time. But in the future, I plan to have a lot more. I plan to have billions more, because that's what I should be allotted. I should be what I deserve so that I can give back to those that have suffered more than me. And that's what my intentions would be, is to offer back to those communities, to those that actually showed me affection and love, and not even understanding that you can love human beings. Love is transparent in that way. Giving somebody, the last bit of your food, that is love. Giving somebody the affirmations that they needed about, encouragements that they needed, that is love. And yet when I use the words of love and I tell people I love you, they get harsh about it. Even one of the, the officers who was transporting me to the back, I remember saying, I love you, because that's what I do right before I pass out anyways, spread love instead of hatred. And she said, oh, enough of that. Don't say that. And it's like, wait a second, if you can't say it to just random individuals for helping you, then what is wrong with this world? Why can't we be that translucent, transparent, genuine in that way, to express I love you as a human being, not as an object, not as something that I want to fornicate with or anything like that. Love is just that. Love is all around us. And that's why Love Actually is one of my favorite movies, because you can see clearly that there are times where people misconstrue the words of love. They misinterpret it. And my words of love are just being compassionate toward as many people as I possibly can be. And when I'm in a negative energy, I can't be that. I can't be myself. So all the stress, all the stressors of being here, of not having the things that I need to survive, that wanes on me. And I end up lashing out at others. I dented my car because I went to go put the back down. And of course, the warranty didn't cover that, the electronics for the hydraulics of the back door. So I've been having to push down my door instead of it just going down. Well, it's even heavier than a normal door because it has the hydraulics. So I was forcing it down at nearly 8 months pregnant, right? 32 weeks along, 31. And I got pissed and I just kicked it with my fucking flip-flop. I didn't give a fuck and I dented it. I know how strong I am. I know how capable I am. And I refuse to act out. I refuse to murder people because of that. Because I know I could kill people. And I just don't. I wait. I wait and I see if they're going to alter themselves. And if at the very end you don't, I will have to murder some things. So, and that also means myself in that way. If I end up having to commit another suicide attempt and it's on you people, then it's going to be 10 times worse for each individual involved and everyone that knows about it. So, and it's not a threat. It's a promise. I'll make sure that you suffer tenfold, and so do your family and everyone that you've ever loved. I feel like people don't understand me, and they don't understand where I'm coming from and how much I've secluded myself because I knew I had certain powers. I had certain eloquencies that other people did not have, certain privileges, certain advancements that others do not have. I understand that I might be more important to this entire story than I had initially presumed, knowing that I am a mixed child. My father came from Mexico illegally, and that I am able to speak out on both behalves of what has happened, both sides of it, why we need rules and regulations, and why certain rules and regulations shouldn't be enforced due to humanity, due to the cost of humanity, the cost of life. So that's why I try to convey this as rationally as possible, as articulately as possible, so that you can understand what I'm trying to convey in my story, what I'm trying to convey in my life, what I'm not seeking, financial gains, what I'm not seeking, materialistic things. I'm seeking love. I'm seeking those that have compassion. I'm seeking those, and I want to help those that still have hope left in them, because I do have faith that humanity will change and alter itself within a certain amount of time. It's just going to take a few steps back in order for them to make leaps and bounds forward. So, and that's why my story is so relevant in this day and age, because there are a lot of things that I can discuss that I know about personally, that I have lived through and have been ostracized due to the fact, because of poverty, because I was born into poverty. And you may not think that it was that, but my father stems from people that lived in mud clay huts, and they used the top of a trash can in order to cook their food. Like, you don't even understand. You don't even understand what I have seen, what I've lived through, what I have interacted with. And that's why I know that even the certain amount of contaminations in my blood are not something that I am very proud of. Yet I needed to contact and contract so that I can share from everyone's perspective. Yes, I have HPV. I got it from being a slut. I got it from fornicating with a boyfriend that I shouldn't have been fornicating with, because then he forced me into getting an abortion. Yet nobody has been held to the standard that is there, these laws. Nobody's been forced in my story, aside from me, to keep my mouth shut, so that I don't share the secrets that are out there of how people are allowed to get away with certain things in order for them to have certain pawns in place, so that they can maneuver each one of us and our souls into a certain format, into a certain area, into a certain, perception, because we are sheep. Some of us are not sheep, though. Some of us, you understand, force energy back on you. And that's the hardship of having to deal with us. Whatever heightened individuals, whatever we're called. I say it's autistic. I say whatever it is to convey something that you obviously are jealous about. Don't envy me because I'm able to read some minds. Don't envy me because I can alter some frames of reality, and I can alter my own reality and heal myself within certain aspects. Don't harm me anymore. I'm sick and tired of this. And if you continue to persist, then I pray to God that your soul is cleansed soon. Cleansed off the face of the fucking earth. Cleansed and purified, because you don't need to exist. Like I was telling my mom something about, sometimes I believe that the destruction of certain things, the removal, the rejection of certain things can build a stronger foundation in the future. So the fact that you've been rejected doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. The fact that you are, forced to have to endure certain hardships, that's not the end of the world. Believe me, I could have been eating out of trash cans. I chose not to, because I knew that if I spoke to certain people, they would have the hearts. They would be godly enough to help afford for me in that way, to where I didn't have to degrade myself yet again, that I didn't have to defile myself yet again. That's why I've placed out there my thoughts and feelings about being worth $50 for my evening with Jason. Do I really believe that? Do I really want to do that? Do I really want to fornicate for $50? No. I know my worth, and it's not underneath every man. It's underneath one, and that's how it's been. Like, I've been seeking one, and I haven't gotten that allotment yet. So I pray that he's still out there, because all of a sudden, like, I've got all these hardships and nobody wants to take them on because they feel like I'm the issue. And I'm thinking, no, No, you're the issue for having no compassion. You're the issue for just wanting to fornicate and that's it. You're the issue for just seeing me as an object. You're the issue for seeing me as a sexual being as opposed to what I truly am. A human being. We shouldn't be second-class citizens to you. We shouldn't be underneath you in that way. We should be equals. And that's how it should be. You think that by financing us that it's supposed to help us realize you're the ones that own us? No. I would rather be dead. That's why I went off on my journey. That's why I went off until I was forced back into my mother's home by you people. I'm sick and tired of this. I pray that you understand what you have done. I pray that you understand that, you need to change and you need to give me back my belongings. As much as we don't own anything, I still want my daughter. I need her. There's a difference. And I need my pets. There's a difference. I raised those pets. Some of them from pups. So the fact that you've stolen these things and you're just off, presuming that they don't even remember me, are you deranged? Are you deranged? I've offered so much love and unconditionally, mind you, to these things that they would never forget something so pure. My guided love instead of your misguided love. So by stealing from one individual and offering to another, this isn't Robin Hood, bitch. I'll steal from you in your reality, and you won't even fucking realize it because I speak to things that don't belong, right? That aren't necessarily there. But I pray every day. I've prayed every day since I was a child. And you know what? It's time for me to shine. It's time for me to be, no longer accosted or defiled or defeated in that way. It's time for me to be exalted so I can share my words and my findings with the world so that I can express to people, guess what? These additives and things, these toxic things, these behaviors, these are not necessary. If you want a life that is beneficial for yourself and the world around you, if you want it positive, if you want to go in a certain direction, these are the alterations that you'll need to do in order to access that type of stability and peace in your life, that equilibrium, that balance that you need. And everybody flounders at times. They falter. It's natural. It's normal for that. I did it. I had to see it to believe it. I had to live it to learn it. That's how it goes. So the destruction of my being was actually beneficial. The destruction and removal of everything was beneficial. The fact that I have this child inside of me, I don't hold any malice toward the child, but has it held malice due to the fact that others have forced it upon me? Yes. He has been overwhelmingly stressed. His chemistry has been altered due to all of the stress and the cortisol I was releasing. So I understand he's in danger, but not by me, by you people. By the supreme beings, by the people that don't want to own up to what they have done and just offer me back and give it back freely. Because I'm not about to take anything. There's a huge difference taking from the world as opposed to it being offered freely to you. And that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking true love. I'm not seeking this falsified version of it that you proclaim is normal. Proclaim is, it's natural. It might be natural to want to fornicate. It might be in our primal urges to want to fornicate with one another, but that is not love. That is lust. So the fact that you don't understand that, and the fact that the father of this child didn't understand that, if you liked me, you should have given me the respect I deserved and let me sleep that evening so that we could have had a day of it the next day. You didn't care about me whatsoever. You didn't care about me, what you discarded inside of me, your offspring, your son. You didn't care about him. One day he is going to acknowledge that. One day you will be damaged due to his acknowledgement of that. Because you didn't just mess with my soul. You messed with a new life. That's how it goes. So the fact that I can't even convey my opinions, that I get in trouble for trying to seek out justice on my own, and you trying to tell me that I wanted a relationship with this man, I didn't speak to him from the 9th of December until the 22nd of December. And it wasn't that I was just not whatever, like I was just going to wait until I harassed him again. No, he was nothing to me, like I was nothing to him. That's why I let it go until I found out I was pregnant. Then I had to speak up because I thought, you either need to own up to this, you need to do the right thing by a woman, or you need to be fucked hard in the ass in prison. So that's how it goes. You don't deserve freedom if that's how your freedom is going to, if you fought for our freedoms and you believe that that's freedom to just do your own thing and that's righteous to you, I'm sorry, it is not. You have stolen from me. You have abused me. You have neglected me. You have harassed me. And yet I'm the one being told that it's all me? No. People will see it. People will know me. People do know me. I know people all over this Midwest now. And I can't wait to travel further so that I can share my love and my genuine nature with those that deserve it. Because Jason didn't deserve it. And he's not gonna, he's gonna deserve what he gets in the long run for having done what he had done to me. And everyone thinks that me accosting him and forcing him to, hey, were you in a relationship? I didn't force anything. I didn't stalk him. I asked him. It was a request. He denied. That was fine. But I knew something was wrong. I knew that there was a life inside of me. I didn't know, per se, but I felt something was different. That's why I reached out. That's why I reached out to him in particular, because it was something about him, something about his DNA inside of me. That's what it was. Because that altered my reality by the conception of a child. I knew, I felt it. And I didn't anticipate that. But I knew from the very beginning. I knew he was special in that way. And that's kind of hard because I know that I talk nicely about these people at the same time as wanting to rip their fucking dicks off and shove them in their mouths. But I know that it's just their stupidity. They don't understand their primal urges. They don't understand their natural instincts in that way. They're confused because they don't understand psychology and science. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I gave him some time to think it over before I processed it, the rape. And I gave him a week. He had no response. He had no response but to leave me in the dirt and to get as far away from me as possible because he thought that I was the one that was clinically insane. Yet, we all know it's the other way around. Only a psychopath could do what he had done and then just leave a woman. You don't just fornicate and ejaculate inside of a woman and expect that nothing will come of it. You should always be there to make sure within that couple weeks' time, oh shit, you got your period? Okay, I'm out. At the very least. Gaslight them for at least that long so that at least there's no child involved. Now there's another soul. There's another life. This is a new life. This could have been something positive. This could have been something positive for the both of us. And yet it's something that is bringing us both to our knees. Both, in that way. He's going to be brought to his knees. He's going to be brought to justice. I'm going to make sure of it. There's no way that I could let this child go without a father, without all of these things, and not stand up for him. Because even though everyone presumes I'm the one hurting him, you are. You're the one forcing all this stress on me. You're the one that is telling me I can't smoke medicinal marijuana. You're the one that's telling me all these things that are altering my chemistry, causing me to freak out, causing me to be in pain, causing him to be in pain. So, who's truly the one damaging this child? I would say the U.S. government at this point, because they're not listening to the mother whatsoever. That's a violation of my constitutional rights, and I've already been preaching about that. I had to learn about it. It would be a violation of my freedom of speech in cutting these videos out. It would be a violation of my freedoms, doing all these things, and yet I was still incarcerated. I was the one that was detained. That's horrifying. I feel sad for the people involved, because you will get your karma. And whatever you believe, karma, what goes around comes around, in the perspective you reap what you sow. Yeah, all these things, different dialects, different cultures, all the same concepts. People don't realize that. And like I was telling people about the higher beings that come from the sky, in every culture there's depictions. We all know that that energy is there. We all know that these beings are there. We all know that these people control us too, even on this plane, and they're humans. And now we have electronics to help us do that, so that they can have access to our homes 24/7. They can have access to us 24/7. They can have, in our phones, everything we discuss, everything, everywhere we go, every contaminant that we interact with, so they know exactly who they're dealing with, whom they're dealing with. So I pray everybody has a wonderful weekend, because it's already Thursday. Tomorrow I'll be 32 weeks along. I pray that this is all over soon, and that you justify what's gone on, and you understand that I am due for some compensation, some retribution in that way. And I would like to live out my days peacefully, because this is not correct. This cannot be correct. This is not what I was informed of when I went to Mass every Wednesday. This is not what I was informed of when I was taught to respect and listen and to comply with the authorities. I'm done. I guess I have to put my foot down at this point. Like I said, stake my my walking stick in the sand. I will go no further. You need to fix this. You need to alter this reality, because I'm sick and tired of struggling. These are my words to you. Today is July 7th, 2022. Leticia Collins Servin. Bye-bye.